Okay.
All right, thank you for all attending, either in person or online. This will be my first meeting, so I'm going to kind of wend my way through it, and with the help of some pre-planning, we kind of came up with an agenda. But I do want to just, one, encourage, no matter what, these meetings are very valuable just to get to know one another, see who you are, and to know that you can reach out by phone, email, text, if anything ever comes up after the meeting, or to follow on with conversation. So with that, what I'd like to do is open it up to a welcome and introduction. So I'm Gary Medvichy. I'm from District 4 on Clark County's council and serving as the chair this year. Why don't we just go around the room counterclockwise, and then maybe you can help me with online since I can't see who's necessarily all there. But Oliver, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Councillor and Chair. I am Oliver Ojeko, Community Planning Director with Community Planning.
Amy Wooten, Community Planning.
And I'm Jenna Kay, also with Community Planning.
I'm Bridget McClellan here as a representative from the Neighborhood Association of Clark County.
And so let me, before we go online, is everyone online able to hear us okay? I know this isn't the best room for miking the speakers, but is the volume okay so far? Thumbs up?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so Jenna, why don't you just start calling people to make sure that we get everyone to introduce themselves.
All right, sounds good. Gary, Gary Albrecht, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks, Jenna. Hi, Gary Albrecht, Clark County Transportation Planner for Community Planning.
Jordan?
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jordan Bogie, Senior Policy Analyst supporting the County Council and County Manager's Office.
And Kevin? Kevin Jolma, can you hear us?
Heard you, but I was muted. Kevin Jolma, Director of Facilities, Battleground Public Schools.
And Kimberly Walker Norton?
Hi, Kimberly Walker Norton. I am representing Clark County Public Health. Nice to meet everybody.
Thank you. And Leanne Bremer?
Hi, everyone. I'm Leanne Bremer. I'm representing the Clark County School Districts on their capital facilities planning and impact fee work.
And Mary Templeton?
Hi there, Dr. Mary Templeton, and I'm the superintendent of the Washougal School District. Hello, everybody.
And Mike Nerland?
Hello, Mike Nerland. I'm the assistant superintendent for teaching and learning at ESD 112.
And Richard?
Yes, my name is Richard Davio, and I'm a planner with land use and community development.
Okay, and let's see, Mark Hess, if you can introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Hess, Chief Building Official at Clark County.
Okay. If I missed anyone, if you could please introduce yourself now, that would be great.
Okay, I think we hit everyone. So again, Mike, thanks for attending. I know all of your time is very valuable, but collaboration is valuable too, and we just don't get together enough. So the first action item is the review and adoption of the December meeting notes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review them? Questions, comments? I don't know how formal we are here, but I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, so, and I'll second it. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye? I may be the lone here.
No, I said it.
Okay. Any opposed, any objection to adopting these meeting notes? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and adopt them. So we'll turn right to Jenna for a review of 2024 schedule and topics.
Okay, so I just wanted to remind everyone of the plan for the year for this group. So we checked in at the end of the year on if our current approach makes sense, and so the group agreed that in the spring, our meeting would be generally focused on growth and planning, plus any other topics that have come up. So that's our meeting today. And then towards the end of the year, currently scheduled for December 5th, we'll have the fall meeting, which is more focused on legislative priorities going into the next legislative session. And then, of course, because our comprehensive plan is underway, there'll be updates on that at both meetings. So just wanted to remind everyone that that's the plan for the year, but if you think of other topics you'd like to make sure get on agendas, please let me know.
So just a note on that, we always encourage organizations that we work with the Clark County Council. I mean, we have one voice, we have membership on the Washington Association of Counties, but we also have our own lobbyists. And most importantly, we meet fairly regularly with our local legislative delegation. It's bipartisan. We have a good working relationship. We have a very strong local delegation. So if there are issues in anyone's department, anyone's organization, that we should be apprised of as far as legislative initiatives to correct some law, to put some law in place. You know, we don't have a direct voice, but we can help amplify your voice. I don't know how many out in the membership, how many have their own lobbyists or capability, but the county does have some ability to do that. So keep that in the back of your mind as you progress through the year. If you see something that goes, oh my gosh, I wish they would fix this, or oh, we're losing this funding, whatever the issue is, please bring it to our attention because we can help amplify that. And Jordan does a great job for us in organizing those efforts together with our lobbyists and organizing the meetings with our legislative delegation. Any comments or questions? Otherwise, we'll move on. So I have Richard as the presenter from Community Development Update.
Okay.
Thank you,
Richard,
Mr.
go
Chair.
ahead. Yep.
Sure. Once again, my name is Richard Davio, and I'm a Planner 3 with the Clark County Land Use section. And I'm here to talk about trends and just permits that may impact, future school enrollment. Next slide, please. Okay, so we've provided this presentation to you at least the last couple of years. And first, I'd like to go over a couple of definitions that you will see in these following slides. First one, the NHC is new home construction. Those are new homes, whereas MFM is multifamily residential units. ADS is additional dwelling structures. And for our purposes today, those would include the ADUs, or accessory dwelling units. And then, of course, the MBH are mobile homes. Next slide, please. Okay, and here is a map. We're looking at a period from March. For all of these, we're going to go over by school district. And we're looking at the period from March 2022 from March 2023. And as you can see, we have a map of all the school districts, and we'll get more into detail about these dots and where these permits, but these yellow dots represent the permits all of the permits that we just went over, those different types. Next slide, please. Okay, first we have Battleground School District. Again, it's that yeah, that looked a little different, that last slide.
Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry. I think I'm progressing.
That
Should I
last
stop
one,
here,
that-
Richard?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So in the Battleground School District, there were 64 new home permits, the NHC permits. There were 9 multifamily permits for a total of 120 new units, 10 ADU permits, and 2 mobile home permits. And that all equals a potential of 200 new families. Next slide, please. And this slide, we have a distinction between the last couple years, all in the Battleground School District, 2019 to 2021, 2021 to 2022, and of course this one that we're concentrating on, 2022 to 2023. Next slide, please. Okay. And in the Camas School District, we had 1 ADU permit. And some of them we are noticing just differences from last year, and that, of course, just how it shakes out as far as what permits have come in. Next slide, please. And again, once again, we have the comparison between the last couple of years. We had a couple more permits last year, in the last year period in Camas than we did for the March 2022 to March 2023. Next slide, please.
Ask a quick question. Does that include all the permits that are drawn within Washougal or Camas itself? Are these just county permits?
These are county. That's what I wanted to make sure that it's very clear. That
Yeah.
These are county.
Yeah, these are all just county jurisdictions, correct?
Thank you.
So any permit within the city limits is different.
Next slide.
Okay, go
please.
ahead.
Okay, in the Evergreen School District, March 2022 to March 2023, as we were talking about, we had 51 new home permits for new homes, 4 ADUs, potential of 55 new families. Again, and this clarifies the comment you just made, Mr. Chair, about the outside of the city limits. Next slide, please. And of course, here we do have the comparison like we have been doing for the last 2 periods, 2021, 2022 being the last. Next slide, please. Okay, for Hawkinson School District, we had 3 new home construction, new homes, 5 ADUs, and 18 potential new families. Next slide, please. And once again, we have the comparisons. Pretty similar to last year. Looks like not too far different. Maybe the year before, a little less. Next slide, please. Okay, La Center, we didn't have as much going on from the last period. We had only 1 new home permit. Next slide. And this shows you, the difference. There was a couple more from the last year. Next slide, please. Okay, for Ridgefield, we had 6 multifamily permits. And of course, probably one thing I should have clarified before, those are typically buildings, and that's why we have a total number of units of 223. 2 new home construction permits, 1 ADS, again, that would be an ADU permit. Potential of 226 new families. Next slide, please. And as you can see here, we had a little bit more permits last year than we did this March 2022 to March 2020. Next slide, please. Okay, so for Vancouver, 12 multifamily permits, 623 units, 63 new home construction permits, 21 ADUs with a potential of 707 new residents. Next slide, please. Once again, we have the comparison. Pretty standard, pretty equal over the last 3 years, looks like. Pretty consistent. Next slide, please. Washougal, we had 2 new home construction permits. Next slide, please. And they've been a little bit more last year, but basically pretty consistent. Next slide, please. Green Mountain, we just had one of those ADS permits. And again, for our purposes, those ADS can mean different things, but it's the ADUs that's important here. Next slide, please. Not hugely surprising. It's one of the smallest districts, or well, maybe it's in population too, but not tons. All right, next slide, please. Before we go into this, then this next thing about question and answers and what future data you guys might want to have. One thing I think is important to go over is something that's happened recently here as far as approving the new urban housing code. And that's very interesting because, of course, as the chair and the councilors know very well, those codes go effective today. And the reason why that's important is because we, in response to the high housing crisis and the state legislation, we have developed a new compact development possibility. Kind of like the cottage developments. This is a compact development, and it allows 200% density, which means you're not gonna see this, of course, for this year, but we should start seeing those increases by next year. Well, some of that data will be coming in, but it does give extra density, and we can probably expect some more families due to this code coming into effect, responding to the housing issue that we have at hand. The other important thing that you guys will notice with the new housing code is that in the urban areas, we are allowing 2 ADUs per lot. If they can, of course, if they have the room, if they can meet all the requirements, the setbacks, and those kind of things. So that's something that we'll see some additional families, and that certainly will certainly potentially affect that future. And what we'll do is, it's just to remind everybody, when you go through a subdivision or even a multifamily development, you have the preliminary review and then the final review. So we should be getting some more data by next year to see how that may impact future going forward as far as the number of families. And we'll look forward to providing that information to you guys. Okay. Well, I guess really now we're here for this slide as far as what data do you need in the future, and any question and answers, any questions.
So I'll open it up and then ask for input from everyone else that's online or in the room. One of the things right away that struck me is, from my point of view, I'd really like to know per school district how many new families there are. So I saw that for the county permits, and that's why I asked the question regarding the Camas School District. Well, does that include Camas and Washougal? I mean, I think it would just be a good data point to give an overall planning perspective, a strategic overview of how many new families are coming in per school district. I don't know if that's a data point that is hard to collect from the cities, but it does dramatically impact future planning, especially right now as we're seeing with the Vista area and Richfield and La Center, what that's going to do to future planning for schools. So anyway, I would just like to see at least a raw number of how many new families are projected per school district, and then maybe as a sub point, how many of those the county is processing. Anyway, that's just my input. Anyone in the room have further, please, Bridget?
I wonder, these are permits that are taken out. What is the sort of average completion date to when those families, say, would move into the place? Or are these actual buildings now?
Well, quickly, what I could just say, there might be somebody else who wants to respond as well, but those are permits that we have issued, and those are either under construction, soon to be under construction, or have been constructed already earlier in that window of time, that the March 2022 to March 2022 to 2023. So those are on the ground happening. They either have been constructed or they are in the process of being constructed.
Thank you.
So there may be additional permits about to be, they're in the process of submitting for them, and we're not capturing that, which would have a much longer time lag and also be harder to predict how long. Oliver, comments or?
No, you're correct. There's always going to be a lag. Two, the county and the cities provide this similar information to the State Office of Financial Management. They use it also to give us an estimate of county population that comes out every April 1 of every year. So they're relying on this same information, as you mentioned, Councillor, in terms of new families and new population as it relates to growth, and then percentage change in that from year over year. So this information is also very available and fits into the population estimate of growth that OFM puts out on a yearly basis. So that's why this is important. So that information will include the city, but we can also ask the city to provide us their own data so we can include that in future presentation. So it's all inclusive of the cities going forward.
Thank you. So I'll ask for Jenna's assistance again. For online participants, are there questions or comments?
And please feel free to raise your virtual hand or just unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
We don't have that many.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the conversation. I strongly agreed that as superintendents, today more than ever, a bead on the future for families moving in, which equates to enrollment for planning purposes, for enrollment purposes, funding purposes, building purposes, all of those things which are front and center with superintendents. I appreciate that we would benefit greatly from not just the county perspective of permits, but rather the cities. So thank you for that. I think I heard from my vantage point that that is something that you'll be able to provide for us, working with the city municipalities to bring that information together so we get a comprehensive look at what we can expect within the city and the county of our jurisdiction for schools. So I appreciate that. I also had a question as it relates to the density. You've done some sort of analysis to project that you're at a 200% density within the county jurisdiction. What are you projecting? What does that look like for the city? It's the same concept of my first comment. What should we be anticipating as we look at the new law that took effect today? So thank you for that information. As we look to next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the path, are we talking a ginormous increase in residents that could be students or not. Thank you.
Oliver, do you want to comment on that? I mean, it's some of the ongoing work that we're dealing with our planners and the city planners.
Yes, it's an ongoing conversation, and until we start seeing actual building on the ground, we won't really know what the actual densities are or what is coming online. So it's likely that in a year or so, when we look back, we will see actually what is being built, and then we use that to measure what density are we seeing on the ground. But for now, as Richard indicated, the housing code that the council adopted goes into effect today. So very soon we'll start to see the building industry or those that develop beginning to submit applications. In terms of the new bills that the legislature passed, as part of this plan update, the cities that those legislation affects will start to incorporate that into their planning process going forward. Because I can say, for example, House Bill 1110 calls for the local jurisdiction. That only impacts the cities of Washougal and Commerce and Vancouver. For example, the bill allows for the city of Commerce and Washougal to plan up to 4-plex in their single-family zone going forward. And for the city of Vancouver, up to 6-plex going forward. And that bill also says they can come up with a development regulation 6 months after the adoption of their growth plan, or they can do it simultaneously. So there is still a window for them to come up with that, how to implement that bill. But even if they come up with it now, you won't see applications until sometime in a year or two. So I would say stay tuned. More data will be coming up, and there's also a provision in the House Bill 1110 that if the cities do not make changes to comply with that law, the Department of Commerce came out with a model ordinance, so that will be a default development regulation for those cities. So I would just say this is a moving target. Let's just wait and see what happens in the next 6 months or so.
So Mary, I don't know if that answers your question, but I mean, there's a lot of art involved in doing these projections, and obviously the state initiative, and I would say the county too, is to really get caught up on housing. You know, the state is somewhat trying to force the issue, especially with the cities, and building a lot more homes for our families that need them. But it's all forecasting, really, and some of the negotiation that's going on amongst the cities and the county to rationalize and get on the same page is, well, what does Vancouver expect? What does Camas expect? What do you hope to achieve? You know, all of that could go out the window if we have another recession or mortgage rates go way up. I mean, it's all forecasting. What I hope is that all this deliberate planning will prevent a tsunami of unexpected students for the school districts. You know, I'm hoping that we don't see any bow wave that's unexpected. So, yeah, I don't think we can be more specific than that. But did you have a follow-up comment or question?
Well,
to
I
Oliver?
just thank you. I appreciate that. Just for clarification, I think the city for Washougal, it looks like it's 4 plexes. I think I heard that, and I think I knew that. It looks like it's 6 plexes for Vancouver. I thought I heard that. It looks like it's 2 ADUs for the county. So I'm just kind of processing what is the potential and accurate. We would like to know before students either are here or not here, as we're planning for the future, hiring and budgets and that sort of thing, buildings. So thank you. I think I have what I need, and I'm appreciative that when we meet again, you'll bring as much information as you have, just like you are today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And the only thing I will add is that, yes, the county has passed this new bill, and the legislature passed the bill. I will only put a caveat that building 2 ADUs is not really mandatory. So it's up to property owners who wants to do it. So all I can say is that this is what we are going to be seeing or measuring or looking at after one has built 2 ADUs on their plot. We don't know who's going to take advantage of that. I just want to put that out there because we don't know yet.
Anyone else online? Are you seeing any? Just go ahead and speak up, unmute yourself, as Jenna suggested. Okay, well, I don't hear or see anything else. Thank you for that presentation, Richard.
You're very welcome.
And that takes us to Gary on the transportation update.
Okay. Gary, you can go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, thanks, Jenna. Thanks, Counselor. Yeah, but can I? That's the question. There we go. Looks like I'm sharing my screen. I want to talk about transportation in the schools and how transportation can impact travel choices for students. I wanted to provide an update on the state programs that can help increase students' abilities to walk and bike to schools. Washington State Department of Transportation has a Safe Routes to School program and the Pedestrian and Bicycle program. The Safe Routes to School program uses a comprehensive look at existing conditions of lighting, sidewalks, and compliance with Americans with Disabilities Act. It's a competitive grant. The Public Works programming team works with the schools to identify potential projects that the county can fit into this grant program. And Clark County Public Health offers staff review of site locations for new structures, remodels, and playgrounds. The Safe Routes to Schools program funding is for projects within 2 miles of elementary, middle, and high schools that improve safety and mobility for children by enabling and encouraging them to walk and bicycle to school. This year, Clark County is applying for 2 projects. One on 139th, Chinook Elementary, Alki Middle School, and Skyview High School. The improvements would be for sidewalks, crossing improvements, and a flashing device. And then another project at Flida Elementary and Thomas Jefferson Middle School, where they would have sidewalks, crosswalks, and a flashing device as well. In 2016, Clark County created a school zone traffic control policy that provides clear guidance on the implementation of school zone traffic safety control. School crossings are uncontrolled crossings, meaning students can haphazardly walk across the street during school hours. Clark County requires adult crossing in the crosswalks during morning drop-off and afternoon pickup times. The traffic control policy identifies a process to assess the need for a reduced school zone speed. Here's an example of a chart selection of how it could work. It's a yes/no diagram to get you down to whether you need a reduced school zone speed zone or SSZ or not. The following 2 slides demonstrate the different types of treatment crossings. This treatment crossing is flashing beacons. They're activated by pedestrians at uncontrolled pedestrian crossings, such as a mid-block crossing. The pedestrian pushes a button to activate the flashing beacon to provide a safe crossing. Another type of crossing is a pedestrian hybrid beacon that illuminates when a pedestrian manually pushes a button. For new schools, please alert staff early in the process. Public health is a great resource, as I previously mentioned. When improving safety, Clark County uses a programmatic approach to implementing pedestrian treatments and considers several elements: sight distance, traffic volumes, lighting, sidewalks, and ADA to identify potential safety projects. For Washington State Department of Transportation, the pedestrian and bicycle program, that's another way for the state to help improve mobility options for students going to school. The objective of this program is to enhance safety mobility for people who choose to walk or bike. This program is also supported by Washington's Climate Commitment Act and is also supported by the Multimodal Transportation Account state appropriation. Clark County has applied for 2 grants to help improve students' ability to bike to school. Northeast Covington Road at Northeast 100th Avenue is a pedestrian project that would provide crosswalks, illumination, ADA ramps. And the other one is Highway 99. It's in the vicinity of Northeast 110th Street and Northeast 117th Street sidewalk. Well, the project would include sidewalks, ADA ramps, separated bicycle, and pedestrian facilities. It would improve mobility to Sarah J. Anderson Elementary and Geyser Middle School. And in the PowerPoint presentation that's available online, there are several helpful links. One is for the school zone traffic control policy, and then we have the pedestrian crossing treatment policy, and the school health and safety technical advisory committee, and then of course, our county engineer Ken Lader always likes it when I engage with the public that I offer the link here for a report a park or road concern. You could click on that and then fill out a quick form to alert Public Works of any concerns with parks or roads, and that way we can log the information, and it's easily tracked and monitored and reported back and acknowledged. Thank you very much, and that's all I have. I'm open for comments and questions.
Questions from inside the room?
How come I always have a question?
Well, we can come back to you.
No, on the Highway 99 project, can you combine this WashDOT funding with the school crossing funding and the C-Tran investment in the bus rapid transit up Highway 99 to really have a crossing across Highway 99 with one of these flashing lights?
Well,
I mean,
they're different pots of money. So C-Tran has a different pot of money for the BRT line that's going up, and we've got the policies in place. So if there's a need for a crossing in a specific location, we would go through the prioritization crosswalk looking to see what's needed and what is appropriate for any kind of crossing on Highway 99 up in that location.
Okay.
And let me just highlight something right away, because we had a presentation quite some time ago to the council, and I'm just going to throw a rough number out there. Unfinished sidewalks, non-compliant ADU access on ramps. There's like 30,000 plus instances or locations throughout the county. RTC has both urban and rural grants for projects that are touching on what you're asking about. I mean, there are lots of different pots of money, but I think our transportation, our planning department is very mindful we are behind in a lot of these
Absolutely.
areas. And certainly the highest, from my point of view, the highest priorities would be around our schools and neighborhoods that are being built to get that caught up. But Oliver, did you want to comment, or Gary, did you want to comment further?
No, sir, I think you've covered all of it.
You covered all of it. We are very mindful and going up and grant to the best we can, and incorporating sidewalk and bicycle lane where appropriate as we develop and or make improvement on new or county roadways. So we know that there is many areas that has deficient in terms of sidewalk and bicycle lane and ADA issues. So public works, public health and planning, transportation planning staff mindful and going after grant where possible. And sometimes those grants are both federal, we're talking about AD and also state. And of course, we are using the traffic impact fee where possible to help augment some of the projects we have online. But we do indeed have significant deficit in terms of sidewalks, and we are making progress slowly.
I probably said ADU instead of ADA because of the prior presentation. So thank you for clarifying that. Other questions online? Okay, seeing none, Jenna? And there's nothing wrong with being early and moving forward. So community planning update, and that'll be from Jenna, I believe.
Yeah, okay, so this is Jenna Kay with Community Planning, and also got my colleagues Amy here, and then Oliver and Jose Alvarez are also here to help me field any questions. So I'm gonna focus our long-range planning updates really on the comprehensive plan update, because that's the big project that's in front of us right now. So this slide here, this is like the high-level timeline for this project. We've got 4 key phases outlined across the top. So we've got project initiation, shaping the plan, reviewing and refining the plan, and then adopting the plan. And within each phase, we've got some of the key items listed underneath each of those phases. You know, it's a big project. It's long and it's complicated. And, you know, there's key tasks and distinct stakeholders that need to be involved in each of these items. We would like to note that this past legislative session that just ended, they did extend the due date for the county's comprehensive plan and all the cities in the county. So our new due date is our comp plan needs to be adopted by the end of 2025. Okay, let's see. I'm not sure, I don't need to walk through all of these items. This is more here for reference as sort of overview of the project. I will note that we checked off things that are complete. So we've done most of the project initiation items, but the cities and county are still in discussion on, so we have like a projected population number and employment number, but there's still discussion going on how is that going to be divided between all the jurisdictions. So I think that may be that's going to be useful information for you all once that decision's made for your planning, because we'll actually have some population forecasts by jurisdiction. But then otherwise, we are moving into the shaping the plan phase, where we are going to be starting the environmental impact statement process and then starting to develop alternatives for where are we going to put everybody who's expected to move here and so forth. Okay, so just a few of the big items we know so far for this comp plan update. So key decisions that the county council has approved so far. So the population projection for the entire county for 2045 is just over 700,000 people. And I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but we're at about 500,000 today. And then in terms of projected number of jobs by 2045, we need to plan for 259,000 non-farm jobs. Other key things we know that need to be part of this update because of legislative changes to the Growth Management Act, we need to update our housing element to make sure that we are planning for and accommodating housing for all economic segments of the population. So in the past, that's never been a requirement. So that's a new piece. And then we also need to identify and begin to address racially disparate impacts, displacement and exclusionary policies and regulations related to housing. So also a new requirement that just, hasn't existed before as part of our comprehensive plan work. And then the other key legislative change that's happened to the Growth Management Act is regarding climate change. So this is the first time we need to include planning for climate change in our comprehensive plan. So that includes both planning to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and improving community resilience. And there also is an equity component, so we need to be improving environmental justice in the county as well. So this is just the big picture projections and key legislative changes, but a lot more to flesh out as we work through the process. Okay, so next I wanted to shift to some components of this process that specifically relates to schools, and I think I've mentioned some of these at the last time we met in the fall, but wanted to revisit them and revisit our updated timelines around them. So as you all know, as part of this work, school district capital facility plans need to be updated and adopted by reference into the county and relevant cities' comprehensive plans that they overlap with. So with our new extended due date at the end of 2025, we are expecting that updated school capital facilities plans, those will be, you all will be done with that in the summer of 2025 in preparation for the comprehensive plan hearings in fall of 2025. And so there's kind of two pieces to that. So there's the 20-year outlook for the school capital facilities plans, and then you all each will have your 6-year capital facility plans as well. So you all can submit your 6-year CFPs sooner to us, but the 20-year outlook is probably going to have to take place in late summer 2025 because we'll need to wait to know what the preferred alternative is that we're all planning around. And let's see, I'll coordinate with Leanne on the specifics of that timeline so that we are well coordinated with you all as you do your capital facilities planning and then integrating it into the county's work. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to mention, I think as most of you know, the county's comprehensive plan also has a schools chapter in it. This is an optional component of our comprehensive plan that the school districts were really involved in several years ago to add it into the plan. This chapter includes some background information on schools in the county, as well as some goals and policies related to schools and growth management. So a lot of that has to do around facilities. So with that chapter, we'd like to continue to work really closely with the schools on making sure that that is still meeting your needs. So, in the next couple weeks or so, we would like to send out a copy of that chapter of the current version so that you all can circulate it to those on your staff who you'd like to have review it. And then we would give you some time to then submit suggested edits back to us so that in the fall we can then work on addressing your suggestions. So our hope is that we've got a revised draft of this schools chapter by the end of this year in 2024. Though it won't get to council for adoption until late 2025. So there'll be about a year's lag in there, but this is something we think we can get done a little bit ahead of time, which would be helpful because of all the other things we need to do as part of this process.
Can I just add a point as you're
Yep.
flipping through to the next slide? So this had some controversy for the council a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when we're kind of hashing out the buildable lands model and where schools fit in there. So the reason why I want to emphasize that is, as Jenna just said, having clarity, having discussion with the schools, knowing exactly what your plans are, impacts our comprehensive plan. So, it's a smaller nuance, but we do have a chapter. So please actively participate and make sure your voice is heard and that we have the most accurate information that you're developing within your own districts.
Okay. And then,
Jenna, this is Leanne Bremer. I just wanted to add, and thank you for that, Gary. It's not only important for the school districts to update their capital facilities plans and impact fee calculations and the schools chapter that you mentioned, but also to be involved in the planning process for future school sites. One in particular, and Mary's very familiar with, is there's a site that the Washougal School District desires to be included in the Washougal urban growth area. And so we're monitoring that and we'll be advocating for that. But there may be other school districts who have other sites that either need to be brought into the boundary or need to be zoned appropriately for new schools.
Thank you, Leanne. Other comments before we go back to Jenna? Questions? Go ahead, Jenna.
okay. The last thing I just wanted to mention was, I think we offer this regularly, but we are happy to engage with students. I think in particular, I'm working on the climate change part of our comp plan update, and we know that's a very popular topic with a lot of youth. If you see opportunities in your school district with classes or green teams or things like that where you'd like us to come present, or you want us to just go and listen to something the kids are already doing, we are happy to do that. And similarly, we're happy to do that on any topic that's in the comprehensive plan. So just wanted to mention that I did have an opportunity to go to the recent elementary school Green Team Summit where the students were presenting on what they've been up to. So that was great. It's great to hear what they're already doing and what they're excited about, because we're really planning for their future. They're going to be adults by the time the policies in this plan go into effect. So if you think of anything that you'd like to connect with us on, please let us know. And then I am also in conversation with Stacy Meyer at ESD 112 to explore if there's ways to tap in to other sort of existing programs in your districts, particularly around the climate change topic. So just wanted to mention that, and that's all we have. So glad to talk about any other questions.
So we'll go online first. Any questions or comments?
I'll just add, thank you, first of all, Leanne. I was going to ask or comment, so thank you for supporting the Washougal School District that way. Appreciate it. I just want to highlight the importance of communication and collaboration between school districts and the county, and of course the city, who are not represented here today, but how critical as we think about these very long range comprehensive plans. Because if we can't coordinate and we can't talk about what it is that we see and what you're seeing and what you're planning, we are not going to be able to hit the mark. And as I think about the densification and the change in state law that's impacting the county and the cities, and then I think about comprehensive plans that are 20-year plans, critical that school districts are part of the conversation as we think about how that densification and change in zoning and the interest to increase housing is going to impact all of us significantly. So that is the plan. That is what you're asking us to participate in. I just wanted to highlight how important that will be for that listening stance from both the school districts as well as the county and the city officials. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And I just want to double tap on that too, because, every now and then the legislature weighs in and adds more requirements. And we're at the forefront of the state in some of these new environmental requirements as well as these new density requirements. So there's a lot of hard work that the county is doing. And what I see all the time, and I see it from city councilors and others out in the community, they just have no idea of how hard and detailed this work is and the need for collaboration. It is, you know, people don't know what they don't know, and then they assume that nothing's happening. And there's a couple topics on the next section that I want to touch on that kind of relates to this, broadband and mental health. We need to up the dialogue and know that, you know, the staff is willing to listen. And quite frankly, if they don't answer the phone or your emails, and regardless, give me a call, text me or email me and say, hey, here's my concern for Washougal. You know, here's my concern for Camas. Whatever it is, let's highlight it, and then from a county councilor point of view, we can then go to the county manager and staff and say, hey, what are we doing about this? I'm hearing this out in the community. I'm hearing this from Camas City Council. And we need to have an open dialogue on anything that you have a question about or anything that you're concerned about. So thanks for highlighting that. This is hard work, and it's important work, and we do need to get it as best we can. Anything in the room?
Yeah, I've got just a quick comment. This is Mike Nerland at ESD 112. And as we're talking about growth and future planning, we started the meeting today with talking about our legislature and the relationship that the council has with our local delegation. And as I look at, you know, the potential of 200% density, and look at just the recent bond election in Ridgefield, where they've now failed 6 bond elections in a row. Most of those votes were 58, 59% for. One of the things that the superintendents throughout the state and WASA, the Washington Association of School Administrators, has really been pressing a simple majority to pass a bond, or at least 55% to pass a bond, because in today's climate it is almost impossible to hit that 60% threshold to pass a bond. And as we continue to grow, if we don't have the ability to build some new schools for capacity, then, you know, that just creates a crisis situation in the classroom. We don't have quality facilities. And if you could join us in lobbying our local delegation and statewide about simple majority for bonds, because honestly, most of them oppose it. Most of them down in Southwest Washington oppose that. But I think that's going to be key, because you can't just keep putting in more and more portables with impact fees. That's just my comment.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Mike. And as you were talking about it, I can't remember a single conversation where we've even discussed it with our local delegation. So as you said, you think they oppose it. I you know, person to person, I couldn't tell you who supports it or who doesn't. So that's an important point to bring up for future discussion for sure. Thanks for saying that.
You bet. And I know if you're interested, as you know, as we talk to our legislative delegation, I know the superintendents and ESD 112 would be happy to do that together, speaking with them. So, yeah.
Okay. And I will tell you, we did something similar to that with our homeless, some homeless initiatives. We got joined together with Vancouver's lobbyists and Vancouver City Council and ours and our delegation to try to have a discussion just about homeless initiatives and some of the needs that we still need, you know, want to address. Anyway, that's a good future topic to bring up. Anyone else online or in the room? Yes, Oliver, please.
No, Councilor, I appreciate the comment from Mary and Mike, you know, the issue relating to passage of funds, this is one that we would strongly encourage the school superintendent and the county and others to really push, because what is happening is that while we are growing, our elder population is also growing, and we are experiencing, and those that are moving in here that may not have kids, that as that demographic changes, the ability to pass bond becomes really difficult and challenging. So if there's any way that the 60% threshold can be modified, that is something to be considered, because that's what I see happening. And two, on the school site, in future school site, and you did mention that, Councilor McClingy, we want to work cooperatively as we have done in the past with all the school districts. My experience here, what I have seen is that we do accommodate, or the council, because we don't make the decision, the council do accommodate school district that want a future school site that they would like to develop or that they own, to see that brought into the urban growth boundary. We did that the last time with the Center School District, for example. So we welcome the opportunity to work cooperatively with the school district. The other thing that I see happening, and maybe the trend in the future, is as the density or the population increases within the existing urban growth boundary, there may be a trend, and I'm not saying until we begin to see that, there may be a trend if the school district has sufficient capacity in the existing school site to go through renovations, which is something that we have seen in some school districts, rather than acquiring new sites, they redevelop or start shifting some of their students from one school to the other while they renovate and add capacity to the existing site. Those are some of the things that the school district should also be considering. But in terms of new school site, we will work with the school district as they identify school site they want to purchase. The other thing I will add is that the legislature recently passed a bill that says that for predominantly, because when you look at the school district boundaries, majority of them are not within the school, are not within the urban growth boundary. Majority of them are both urban and also rural. And there are some that are completely rural, like Hawkinson, Green Mountain. Majority of battleground is not all in the urban growth boundary. So they can locate outside the urban growth boundary if they're serving predominantly, say, rural. And the legislature passed a bill that we can run a tight line to serve that school site. So there is opportunity now that didn't exist before. I just want to throw that out there, but that came as a result of changing the legislature or pushing the legislature to make that change in terms of providing a tight sewer line to serve that school district that is not in the urban growth boundary. But we want to work with the school district going forward as we have done in the past. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, often people don't, they think about roads and sidewalks and bike lanes, but forget about sewer and other infrastructure that we need to really support a school. Thank you for that, Oliver. So let me just give you some background on this next topic, mental health and other topics. But the first bullet I have on the agenda is mental health sales tax funds. And I've really been hitting hard on this the last few years. So just very briefly, some of my background, I started out in college as a psychology major and worked in detox clinics as an intern, worked at the state's mental hospital, and this was all in Vermont. You know, as an early young person looking at my future, I had an interest in that area. I later gravitated, through happenstance, to doing prosecutor work, and obviously a lot of criminal law and statistics will tell you that drug addiction and mental health is involved in about 85% of crime nationally in one form or another. And then I was a Superior Court judge in the criminal division, and so I was, you know, I will tell you, I was not one person that, no matter who I was dealing with, when it came to drugs, you know, whether a major vendor or not, you know, the goal was not to send them to prison and just warehouse them. The goal was to fix them. And the most frustrating part I had as a judge was not having the resources. You know, we had some residential drug treatment programs. We had some residential mental health programs, or some in custody. But we didn't have dual diagnosis. And most addicts also have mental illness. One masks the other. So I just didn't have the ability as a judge either for jail alternatives or for sentencing options. People were always on waiting lists. They had to compete for treatment slots. And it was very frustrating because the need was far greater than the resources. And I will tell you, as a father, I had an adopted child that had both mental health and addiction issues. And the system failed her at every step. I saw every gap there was. So I've really been fighting the fight here to bring resources. The low-hanging fruit, we've had this discussion regularly on the county council and law and justice, to get a licensed facility within our jail, the low-hanging fruit of bringing treatment, because most addicts aren't going to voluntarily come to treatment. But when you have them incarcerated, that's the time to start and then transition them as they reenter society. So I'm really pushing to have a licensed facility within our new jail as it gets remodeled. A lot of pushing on that. Now, how does that relate to you and this topic? Because I actually wanted to reach out to 112 and to schools at large. Over the last 5 years, I've attended the youth leadership and participated with them. And I will tell you, you know, things dramatically changed during the pandemic. But what I universally heard every year, and more so this past year, is the need for mental health counseling within our schools. Some of the big schools at least in their view, they have no idea where to get help out in the community. And within the school itself, you could have a population of 1,000 kids and they say, hey, there's one counselor. There's just no access. They don't know how to get access. So we have a lot of treatment providers out in the community, and one vignette that works on here, you know, we had a problem with our Children's Justice Center. You know, those children victimized, sexual assault, abuse, neglect, needed counseling as victims. And they couldn't get it within the normal contracting. So we did have a grant that focused mental health care from one of the providers just on that population from CJC. So we could focus and ensure there weren't wait lists, that counseling was readily available. I would like to do the same things with our schools at large, you know, whether it's CMAR, Lifeline, Columbia Mental Health. We need to get aggressive in the schools and saying, what do we need within our student body? How do we deliver and make available mental health care? I'm not talking about vocational counseling for our students. Define it. Ask for it. So we just had a meeting yesterday in our mental health sales tax committee, and I've been basically pushing the same thing. Jordan knows it, and Jordan's helping quite a bit. We have a mental health sales tax it's extremely valuable. It's extremely underspent. You know, every year we have about $2 or $3 million that we need to roll over, what I would call recurring expenses. Right now, we have close to $20 million sitting in that account. So we could easily spend $15 million this coming year. So I'm asking you, I want to put the word out. What is the gap? What do you need for your schools? Let's organize a request to our care providers and say, we have the money, you put the resources together so our school children, who really have suffered tremendously during the pandemic, we're still learning how much so. And I'm not talking about their math scores falling or English scores falling. I'm talking about the need for counseling. So I put that out to you as a request that, you know, pretty much every opportunity I've been raising the same hue and cry. I want to get that money that we have in the bank to good use, to effective use where we need it, and I think our schools need it, as does our jail, as I mentioned. So anyway, that's why it's on the topic, because it's something near and dear to my heart. So let me hear from you. Any other comments or questions?
Well, Gary, I know that the superintendent's on here, myself totally agree with you, and mental health issues multiplied greatly during and after COVID. And one of the things that we were able to do in this region, actually statewide, we were able to get some ESSER money. And ESD 112, actually, we have our own mental health license. And so we were able to, we've actually hired 39 embedded mental health therapists that are out in the field. Many of them were in our rural areas, but in partnership with our school districts providing services. And it has been a huge benefit. We're seeing a huge impact from having a licensed mental health therapist right there in the school, where they get to know the school community, they get to know the kids, they get to know the families. Unfortunately, ESSER money is gone, or is going to be gone at the beginning of this next school year. And so, and the legislature didn't backfill that. And so we're looking at either having to cut back on the number of therapists that we're currently providing, or, you know, districts in a time of tight budgets having to provide some additional in-kind contribution for that. And I'll let Mary and John comment if they'd like, but I'd be happy to bring our mental health kind of leadership team to a council meeting. They can talk about the program, they can talk about what we've been doing, they can talk about the results for the last 3 years, but some additional support through the mental health sales tax would be amazing. And I'm glad you put this on the agenda, because it is a very, very relevant topic.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me add one point. So there was some short-term ARPA fund too, and I think we did have an RFP with 112 to provide additional counseling resources and for preschool kids as well. But that was short-lived. It's timing out, and so we're in the processes of making a process change, and I'll let Jordan speak to that a little bit. But you know, I'm looking for a way to accelerate and make efficient the way to get this money to where the need is. One of the changes we just talked about yesterday that we hope to operationalize is our communities. Vanessa Gaston in Community Services will take over, her department will take over a lot of responsibility for getting the mental health sales tax money out to the community. So we'll still have our grant for the stakeholders, but we're also going to make this change, hopefully to make more efficiently the processing of requests that the schools in particular may have. So go ahead. Who else wanted to speak up?
Yeah, this is John Boyd, Superintendent in Evergreen Public Schools. I'm both heartbroken and excited about the funds available. The need is great, as you pointed out, for students to get some services related to mental health. To the point where we have students and student groups coming to us to make proposals about what could be done to support the needs of their classmates. So the need is great. The opportunities are there if, like you say, there's some coordinated effort. So my question is, what would be, are you suggesting a next step as putting a group together to discuss how we might streamline the resource to be able to use it more effectively? Or are you thinking we could have some discussion that could lead to something in this particular meeting?
Oh, we meet like once a year, twice a year. I definitely want to make this happen like tomorrow.
Yeah.
And one of the things I brought up yesterday was, hey, let's get all of our service providers together. And I was talking specifically in the context of what we're hoping to do with jail services and our reintegration services for that continuum of care for those who are committing law violations. But so something like that, I would ask the school districts to organize, hey, let's identify the needs that we all have. And once we've defined the need and what the program, the low-hanging fruit is the programs you're about to lose because the state didn't fund it. Then we put a grant request together. Vanessa Gasson will be center of this discussion. So maybe organizing a meeting with her staff and the schools once you're ready to define your need. We need to act on this now. We literally are bringing in about $1 million a month on that sales tax, and that's why we've gotten way behind on getting it out to the community, because we don't have an efficient process for analyzing the needs and finding the service providers. Hopefully, Jordan, you want to weigh in here on what we hope to do and what we discussed yesterday with the mental health sales tax?
Sure thing. Thanks, Chair. Hey, everybody. Jordan Bogey, Senior Policy Analyst with Clark County. Great to be here with you today. Mike, you are my principal and superintendent back in Camas, so go Papermakers. Just wanted to expand a little bit on what the Chair was saying. So previously with the mental health sales tax, which is allowed...
Let's crack it down.
Which is allowed under RCW 82-14-460. It is used for new and expanded mental health services. So that's something to keep in mind as you're thinking about what this proposal might look like. But traditionally, we have put out an RFP once a year. And that RFP is going to be released here this year in June, with proposals due in August. And that's because we've had it fitting in with the county's annual budget process. And so having to figure out how the county is going to spend that money. And so that's been a challenge in terms of timing. The other challenge has been, as the Chair said, there is funding available, but the capacity to actually get people working out in the community, I think, has been something, finding the workforce, making sure that we're able to operationalize what the projects folks want to do are. That's been a challenge. The direction that we've discussed moving in is basically internally, we would allocate that money to a set of priorities, and then community services would be able to have a rolling RFP process that would not be so tightly tied to our annual budget process. And so folks would be able to apply a little bit more across the board as needs are coming up. And so I think, community services, we'd love to work with the superintendents to put together what some new and expanded services might look like, put together a package. Vanessa would be a great person to talk to. You're also welcome to reach out to me. I facilitate our mental health sales tax advisory group. My name's Jordan, JORDAN.Bogey, BOEGE @clark.wad.gov if you ever want to get a hold of me. But yes, we are looking at different ways to streamline and make this funding stream more accessible. And so I would love to work with folks around that.
Jordan, could you get your contact information again?
Yeah, it's so my email is jordan.boege@clark.wa.gov, and so that's JORDAN.BOEGE.
Clark dot what?
Clark.wa.gov.
And what is your title?
My title is Senior Policy Analyst. I support our county council and the county manager's office and
So
other kind of random hats.
If I have a contact person here that's kind of coordinating our mental health, they could reach out to you and connect, and that could be fruitful.
Absolutely. Be happy to chat with them about program and process, and I can also help them get in touch with the appropriate folks in our various county departments as well.
JORDAN.BOEGE.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. As a superintendent, I am going to thank you for the good news. And I'm also going to highlight our ESD 112. We have a particularly strong ESD in Southwest Washington, so thank you to Tim Merlino and Mike Nerland, who are helping lead that. The state has been using our ESDs as conduits for limited funding for a specific purpose, and I'm referencing safety centers. So there's money that flows from our state into the ESDs to support all of us. The reason I want to highlight our ESDs is because they're particularly good at logistics. They're excellent at maintaining a workforce. They're really excellent partners to work with for service. And if we were to all individually have what we actually needed, looking at John and Evergreen, it is a ginormous amount of resource that would be taken or would be needed from a school district to figure out the RFP, the facilitation, the application, the hiring, the maintaining, the onboarding, and implementation. But the ESD already has a really robust program. I would just ask, as one of those mostly non-rural districts, that we expand the services to a district like my size, about 3,000 students, and of course to John's district of about 25,000 students. That's a lot of money, but I do know that our ESD does have an excellent track record of how to deploy services, and they're good with logistics. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. So thank you, Mike Nerland. Get on in there with the conversation. And the second thing I'm going to say, so Latitude, friends, here it comes. This is my impassioned speech for the collective we. And when we're talking about mental health crisis and drug addiction, opioid addiction, and the outcomes for our society that are negative, that we just cannot endure any longer, when we have schools who are the bedrock of democracy, we are the place where our young ones who become our citizens first begin to understand what does success in life look like. Clearly, our parents are critical for the mission, but we as school districts have so much responsibility. And when we sit on the edge of success to making sure that each and every student rises to success and a hopeful future, when we sit on the edge of that sort of success and then endure what we're all enduring right now, I'm looking at Evergreen and Vancouver and Washougal in Southwest Washington, the amount of cuts and budget reductions, it is not because we're not good money managers, my friends. It is because the state has insufficiently funded the paramount duty of this state, and all of us, the collective we, that is why it is the paramount duty, is because when we are sufficiently funded, then we can deliver on that promise, and the return on investment is hopeful and bright. So as we talk today about how to mitigate the current mental health crisis, thank you, hallelujah, and yes. So thank you, Council, for that input. And when we rise together with one voice and say, what if? What if we just had the paramount duty sufficiently funded? For my district, it's $3 million this year that I have to cut. For John's, I've lost track, John, it's multi-millions.
It's $20 million.
Thank you.
This year, $20 million last year, and $20 million the year before.
Yeah. And so again, that's why I said Latitude, my friends, because this is the speech. And at the beginning, the conversation was around our legislators, and we've talked a bit about it, but we cannot function unless we rise up together with one voice and coalesce around the paramount duty of this state. And if we do that, and when we do that, Some of the conversations we have today about our complexities will minimize. They will never go away, but they will certainly minimize. So I would advocate strongly for us coming together as a legislative advocacy or a conversation component, so we can talk about what does matter. What are we chasing? What are we chasing together? What do we have in common? And how do we raise one collective voice and say, this is what we demand? And right now, when you think about public education and the Elway poll that comes out annually, we should be at the top, because when we're successful, then everybody in our community is successful, everybody in our county is successful, and everybody in the state is successful. So when we're not at the top, in fact, we're about 15, that, my friends, is the problem. So I appreciate the latitude. I will stand down on the speech. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm optimistic about what we can do together.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. And Mary, John, I appreciate your words, your support, and you guys are on the front lines and you see what's happening. And when Tim gets back on Monday, I'll talk to him, and maybe 3 of us can touch base and talk about moving forward. And Jordan, it's always great seeing a papermaker grad done well. And I know that we'll be reaching out to you for a meeting in the future. So thank you for all that.
I helped hire him.
Thank you.
No, so just circling back, I wanted, my initial thought was to partner with 112 myself when I started thinking, we need a school, an all-school response and back to the mental health and drug addiction. I put them both together because some of the resources are the same. Instead of having just individual districts come to Jordan or come to Vanessa with separate proposals, it would be just grand if we could get one overarching, because no matter what, whether it's CMAR or Lifeline or Columbia Mental Health, they're not district specific, they're not city specific, they're just our providers, and so we need to get the resources out to everyone within the county. Jordan, I did want you to spend a couple of minutes talking about broadband. I will just tell you, I've been hitting on this for many years. The ARPA money gave us some opportunities, and then through Commerce and the federal money, there's huge allocations. It jumped. It went from like $700 million for the state to 1.2 or 3 billion for Washington State. And we've been in the process over the last year to try to figure out how do we grab that grant money for Clark County. Initially, we put together broadband action teams. We were very early in the state to do that here in Clark County. And staff has now taken that effort over, but I will tell you the first meeting that I was able to organize, and it was with the Port of Kamis-Washougal. We had some school attendance, but the initial response was, and this is right on the tail end of the pandemic, when I saw school buses acting as hubs for wireless connectivity, for students to try to do their homework online. But the school district basically came up and said, hey, we're okay. We don't really have any issues. And I'm thinking, wow, boy, that wasn't a great collaboration. But I think we've overcome that. We initially had a great response from the libraries. But in any case, we're much farther along in the process. We're much more organized. And some of this money hopefully will start hitting, and there's national discussion about it, the processes particularly. But Jordan, why don't you just kind of give us an update as it would pertain to schools, particularly, on where we are on the broadband grant process.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So there's a few pieces to this. So as the Chair mentioned, several years ago, the federal government passed the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, and as part of that bill, there was money allocated to the states for the expansion of broadband services. And so basically what Washington State and its various sub jurisdictions have been doing for the last year or so, including Clark County, have been trying to get the most accurate mapping possible related to where there are people who are served by internet, underserved. And so the state standard is 100 megabyte download speeds, 20 megabyte upload speeds, and where there are unserved areas. And so right now, they're going through the final mapping process and final challenge process. And so you can actually go on the Washington State Broadband Office's website, or you can also access this on the county council page. If you go to the county council's website, we do have a page also for broadband that folks can check out. It's on the sidebar down at the bottom. And you can look at either your school address or folks' personal addresses. And for those who are either served or not served by high-speed internet, you can make sure that those maps are accurate, because what is about to start happening in the fall is that the state is going to break up the county into different broadband serviceable areas, and they're going to have a bidding process where internet service providers can go in and bid for these project areas and receive funding through the state from the federal government to deploy broadband. There is also a separate pot of money related to the equitable distribution of broadband. So this program, it's called BEAD, Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program. And so really where you'll be able to jump in is I think through earlier iterations of this process, we identified all of our anchor institutions, which includes things like libraries, schools, and hospitals, and the extent to which they are served or unserved by internet in the county. Right now, really the focus is a little bit more on the individual level, but as those maps are being completed over the next few weeks, this process is projected to go through May 14th. That's going to be the final opportunity for the development of where broadband is going to be going in. And then in the fall, they're going to start actually laying out, deploying fiber throughout the state of Washington. And actually the state of Washington's goal is to have the whole state with access to broadband internet by 2028. And so that is their kind of ambitious goal. So over the next 4 or 5 years here, really laying a lot of broadband fiber. And so to the extent that that the county can support efforts by schools to make sure that internet is being provided both to your facilities and also to folks out in your community, we are happy to do that, to be a resource. A lot of this work, a lot of the foundational work has already gone on. And then basically the actual putting infrastructure in the ground is what's going to be happening over the next few years. And so that's really where we're at in the process of this.
So Jordan, where can we access the map?
Yes. So you can access the map either, and I don't think we have a chat function.
So
but if you
can we do this? Because I want to be mindful of everyone's time. Jenna or Jordan, could you get out to all of our participants all of our contact information, first of all, and then the URL to the map location and any other information, Jordan, you think they should have. But our webpage is pretty comprehensive, so we'll send you that. I want to be mindful of everyone's time, although we were ahead of time throughout this meeting. Now we're past the witching hour, but I want to invite. Number one, please help us on this, getting this mental health sales tax money spent in a way that will benefit our students. And any question, topics for further discussion, requests for further meetings, please send the request to me, Jenna, or Jordan. I really appreciate the participation and discussion today. One last opportunity before we break, because it is past the time we were supposed to close. So we'll get you the information, and please keep up the collaboration. Anything else for the good of the order?
Thank you all. Great meeting. Thank you.
Super. Thanks, Mike. And thanks to everyone. Drive home carefully for those that are driving, and until we see you next time, but keep in touch. Emails, texts, phone calls are all welcome. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks.